Hey everybody, welcome back. I am bored. COVID made me bored, and today at the table I am taking a look and playing Dice Conquest by Whiz Kids. This is a very simple dice chucking, dice assigning dungeon crawl game. Uh, how I landed on this was how do I say this? I was looking for a dungeon crawl without a dungeon, if that makes sense. Now, there's quite a few out there. There's a one deck dungeon, I think comes to mind. I actually did the Kickstarter. I backed the Kickstarter for Hellboy, the dice game, which is technically a dungeon crawl, card only dungeon crawl game as well. I haven't opened that up yet. I plan on opening that up at some point to do a video on it. But I think there was another one. There was a one deck dungeon, one or deck box dungeon, I think it was. So sort of a small format, easy to carry around, simple mechanics, but sort of that dungeon crawl experience without having to make it too complicated. You don't have to set up a special board. You don't have to follow a special campaign guide or a mission guide to set up certain rules and certain tokens. I have a lot of dungeon crawl games, Gears of War, Wrath of Asha'alan, Hellboy, and all those take a little bit of time and obviously takes up a lot of space to put your map together, get all the environment variables together, get your character card ready, start rolling, start playing. I wanted something sort of simple, light, that gave me sort of the pseudo quasi dungeon experience, and I landed on this one. I could have gone for one deck dungeon, but I wasn't feeling it. It just wasn't. It wasn't calling out to me. This one was sitting there calling out to me, but I'm not sure why. Because at first I thought, well, you're rolling dice, you're assigning the number to the device, the dice value to the enemy, and then defeating them. How uneventful and how unexciting could that be? I read the rulebook over and over again, and I was sitting on the fence on this one. But the price point for it, which it was on sale. I thought, okay, it's worth a shot. And most of the times, whenever I'm sitting on something that's on the fence, if it goes on sale and it's a pretty good sale, I'll do it. So I wouldn't get this at retail price. I would get it if there was a bargain or something like that. So in Dice Conquest, it's for 1 to 4 players, but honestly, I think this is just really a solo game. I can't imagine 4 players doing this. I find it would be very dull and not very exciting, and probably room for a lot of alpha gaming in this one. But you're going to choose from one of, I think, 8 different characters, and it's fairly straightforward. They all have some kind of ability, and they all have what's called a critical, which is this is normally a crit is like a 6, right? But you'll notice that this game comes with your standard 7 set of polyhedron dice, right? So I think one of the complaints was it came with the percentage dice. I'm not sure. I'm not a D&D player, so any reference to these dice, if I say it wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm not. I know D6 and D20. That's it. But you've got your D4, you've got a D8, a D10, a D12, and you have the D10 percentage, which is in the rule book, you actually ignore the 0. So it is, at the end of the day, a D10. So a lot of people were saying, well, why not just make it a D10? And I think they wanted this to also complement, if you are a Dungeons and Dragons RPG player, that you can also repurpose these dice for that reason. But quite honestly, I think I'm no expert, but these kind of feel cheap, like very light. I wouldn't even use these for D&D if you enjoy rolling dice. So so that's what it comes with, and I believe that's the reason why it comes in this set. Anyways, going back, you'll have 8 characters to choose from, so it's up to 4 players, and it's fully cooperative. You'll be working together. Look, it's Hela. It looks just like Hela. And you'll choose one, and they each have an ability that they have, as well as a crit. The crit is, like I was saying, normal you would imagine a D20. You hit the 20, it's a crit. A D6, you hit the 6, it's a crit. On this one, you have a special crit. It's whatever number is. So if I hit a 5, that's my crit, and I get to use this special ability if I roll it or assign it. So that's the first thing you'll do. And the second thing you'll do is you're going to take all the, I guess, creatures. There's I don't know how many there are. There's probably a good 20 or so. And you're going to be shuffling this. You're going to shuffle this down, and you'll be going through this creature deck as you're exploring your so-called dungeon, your dungeonless dungeon, to the point where you find that special cavern where the special dragon awaits you. And under the dragon is some magical hidden treasure that he's sitting and he won't let go, and you're going to defeat him so that you can obtain that treasure. Classic D&D, right? Culture Storm, I'm going to say. And he is the very final creature that you're going to face in this dungeon crawl. Every creature has an ability. They have a certain amount of health. They have a name. They have their hit value, which is how much they attack you for, and their ability or reveal, in this case, a reveal ability that happens, as well as some of them provide you a special ability. If you defeat it, you get to keep this card for its sort of bottom half aspect here, which is the special ability that you can discard on your turn to utilize its benefit. Not all of them have that, and all of them have certain conditions that you have to meet. So for example, with this giant spider, when you're assigning damage using your dice, you can only assign odd value dice. Another one would be, for example, this one. You can only kill the skeleton if you use exactly 8 damage done to this skeleton. Another one is this one, the ogre. I actually do not like this ogre. I find he complicates my life. He's 30 health, and he has to be the first one you defeat. And actually, it's written in this text here. You cannot target any other creature until this creature is slain. And you'll have this one, the rat swarm, which is 7 health, but you can only assign values of 1 to 4. So at most, you need at least 2 dice that you have to assign to this in order to kill it. So all these characters or creatures have something different about them, some ability, some attack variant that it does to you to make your life a little bit more difficult. And the other set of cards that you have in this game are the, I guess, advanced type cards. These are the trap cards or event cards that you might have. And you can include this if you want to make the game more challenging. I find if you're playing solo, it's quite challenging, and you'll see why. And I've had to actually, I looked at BGG forums, and there's a couple variants that I do use to help mitigate that challenge. Because if you have really bad rolls, then you're not going to progress very far, and it's very quickly for tons and tons of creatures to be on your board attacking you, and you'll even if as a solo player you have the maximum health, which is 20, it's still not going to help you. But if you want to make it more challenging, you can add some of these in here. So for example, you might have to draw an additional card, or you can't target certain things, or you have to sacrifice certain things, or you take damage on your first turn, or in this case it's even worse. The dice placed by them this turn are halved, rounded up, so your values are affected. So you can include these, and I've included it maybe at most 2. But that is the gist of the game. What you're going to do is you're going to explore, and on on the round, you're going to roll the 7 dice that you have. You'll lay them out, and then you're going to choose one of the dice, or each player is going to take one of the dice. They can choose to re-roll it, or they can choose to use it, and they will assign it to a creature or to their ability, and either give damage or take its effect. Then the next player will take 1 dice out of the 7 that hasn't been allocated, use it, or re-roll it if they want to, 1 roll, and assign it. And this will continue until you've used up all 7. As you defeat creatures by assigning enough damage value to them, those dice are no longer able to be used until the next round begins. So once I start playing, it'll make more sense. And you'll see that at what I thought at first was sort of very simplistic and almost like, how excited can it be? I've had moments where it's been frustrating. I've had moments where it's been close, that I'm almost down to the last creature. I'm about to meet the Culture Storm, and I don't have enough. I couldn't do it. I don't have enough health left to actually survive. With more than 1 player, if you're not playing solo, it helps balance it, because then you have multiple opportunities for more abilities to be used. As 1 player with 1 character and 1 ability and 1 crit, you are severely limited. So I feel like you have to modify the rules just a bit to balance that out. And you'll see once I get things set up. So I'm going to come back, set up the board as minimal as it is. But like I said, the reason I got it, it's a dungeonless dungeon crawl where it's easy to set up, easy to take with you, simple rules, very straightforward mechanic, but not necessarily an easy game. So I'll be right back, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, I'm back. I've got my table set up for Dice Conquest by WizKids, a 1 to 4 player game where you will be dungeon crawling through a dungeonless dungeon crawl to defeat creatures until you get to the final boss creature, which is a big dragon, to gain the treasure that dragon has. I've decided to go with the Thief, and the Thief has a special ability. You discard a die to use any other die in the spent area. You must roll the spent die and may not re-roll it. And her crit is the number 2. If she rolls a 2 and she wants to use it, she can change this die to any number and take the last discarded magic item. And the magic item is usually a creature that's been defeated that actually has a special ability. I've got my health tracker. The health tracker is broken down into depending on your player count. So if you're playing with 4 players, each player will start at a health of 4, which seems kind of low, but damage is distributed around the table, and the creatures don't do more than maybe 2 or 3 damage at a time. So, but it's, in my mind, it still feels kind of low, but that's okay. 3 players would start at 6, 2 players would start at 10, and a single player, which is me, would start at 20. So I'm going to have my marker to start at 20, and at the beginning of the game, you're going to reveal 3 creatures. So I've got the Cave Giant, the Rat Swarm, and the Gremlin. So let's see. Let's make sure you guys can see it here. So you can see that here. I'll go through each one. Cave Giant, he has a health of 34. He does a damage of 3 on his turn to attack. He takes 1 damage when placing a die on this creature, so the player would take the damage. If I kill him, I can actually benefit from this. I believe you can provide it to anybody on your team. It doesn't have to necessarily go to the person who defeated them, because again, at the end of the day, this is cooperative. The Rat Swarm does a damage of 1 on its turn. It has a health of 7. You can only assign dice values of 1 to 4 on it. And it tells you here, no die face of 5 or higher may be placed on this creature. And you've got the Gremlin, which takes 3 exact damage. So you can't assign a 1 dice value of 4 to him to kill him. He does 1 damage, and you cannot use magic items until this creature is slain. This creature must be slain by exactly 3 damage. If you do, you get this benefit, which is discard to reroll all available dice. So as you're rolling, you're going to have a couple areas that sort of not defined here. You're going to have your initial pool. So I'm going to roll, and I'm going to have my initial pool of dice, available dice to me. As I spend them, or as I use them, I'll be allocating these dice to the cards. If I still happen to defeat a creature, that creature will either go into my hand because of their ability, or they'll go into the discard pile because they have nothing. And the dice that were on that particular creature goes into a spent area, sort of this zone off to the side. Okay, so I'm going to do initial roll. So on the player's turn, in the game, there's a first player marker. You'll be alternating that as you go through the game. But for me, as first solo player, I'm going to roll. So I got a 6, a 9, an 8, a 3, because you're ignoring the 0 on those percentage die, and 2 1s and a 4. Now, at this stage, it's kind of cooperative. I'll be going back and forth. Let's say I had 2 or 3 or 4 other players, and I'm first player. I've got the first player marker. I'm the thief. They are whoever they want to be, and I'll say, all right, I'm going to take a dice. I'm going to take the D20. I get 1 chance to reroll it. I could keep it as the 6 if I wanted to, but obviously it's a D20. I want to try to roll for higher. When I do that, I have to keep whatever roll that is. So I'm going to reroll. Okay, I rolled an 8. Not much better. Now I have to use it. Whatever this is, I have to use it. Now, I can't assign it to the Gremlin or the Rat Swarm because their rules and conditions won't allow me to, but I can assign it to the Cave Giant, in which case I am taking 1 damage. So when I assign it here, it's going to take 1 damage. So I'm down to 19. Actually, I'll keep this over on this side. Then it would move clockwise to the next player, who would do the exact same thing. They would take 1 die, they would re-roll it if they choose to, and then they would assign it. And this will continue to go around the table until all the dice have been allocated. And hopefully you've taken out a cave or a creature at some point. Honestly, the goal is to try to get rid of all 3 if you can. In my plays, it's sometimes next to impossible, because it all depends on the rolls. If I roll the highest value on every one of these dice and these creatures don't have any conditions, like for example, Rat Swarm or Gremlin, then yeah, I can clear through it very quickly. But these conditions, these abilities, really create a hindrance and makes it very challenging to try to maximize. You're at the end of the day trying to optimize your dice rolls and your abilities to try to defeat it. Once everyone has gone through, all the dice have been assigned. Any creatures that haven't been killed, they stay on the board. Creatures that are killed, they are discarded. And then you can choose whether or not you want to remove the dice from a damaged creature just so that you can have the dice back. You may want to do that, or maybe you're close enough that the next round you can probably get away without having to take away that dice. That's fine. But then another 3 creatures will show up. Every round, 3 creatures show up. And in my solo games, I have ended up with almost like 9. And that's it. There's no way to win because every round is 9. So I'm going to go through a quick run through of the regular game rules. And then I'm going to show you what I do to mitigate, well, for me, to balance it out a little. And I'll just tell you right off the bat. During the spawn, I can have no more than 3, unless the card says draw an additional card. So there are creatures in here that actually draw an additional card when you draw them, and that's the only time I would have more than 3. 3 is a good number. You can even make it just 4, and always have 4 on the table, and that's it. So we'll go through it really quickly. So let's just say, and like I said, because if you have 2 or more players, you can benefit from their abilities, and these abilities can be quite powerful. I think the Thief, her ability is quite powerful. There's a few other here. This one, when placing a die, increase all other dice on that creature by 2. When attacking with a die that is 7 or less, you cannot take damage unless you're fighting the Culture Storm. When you slay a creature, return 1 spent die to the available dice area. The Rogue is also very powerful. This is one of my other favorites. I did well with him because of that ability. Being able to recycle or bring back spent dice is key because ultimately the best die is this one, your D20. So, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead, semi-solo, and I'll explain if there are more other people. But let's just say there was another person. They would take a die, re-roll it. But in this case, it's just me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this one. I'm going to re-roll. I get a 10. So I'm going to put this 10 on the Cave Giant. When I do that, I take 1 damage. The next thing I'm doing, I'm going to take this. So I'm at 18 on him. I get a 2. So right now, I can use this to either assign it to the Gremlin or the Rat Swarm, or I can use my Thief's special crit ability, which is right here. Because I rolled a 2, I can use her crit ability, and I can change this die to any number and take the last discarded magic item. There are no discarded magic items, so I'd be wasting this, but at the same time, I can maximize the value of this D10. The 0 is a 10 here, and put it here. Now I'm at 28, and I'm going to take another damage because I've done that. This 4, I'm going to keep, and I'm going to put on the Rat Swarm. Okay, and I'm going to take this one, I'm going to re-roll. I get a 4. That would give me 32. That's not exactly what I want, but that's okay. So I'll take this 4, and I'll put this here. On the Cave Giant, I take another damage. So now he's at 32. And I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to assign 3 to the Gremlin, because I can. I don't have to re-roll it, and I choose not to. When I assign it, because he takes an exact 3 damage, I've killed him off. So this will now go into my spent area. This is my sort of my available area, and this, rather than go to the discard, because he has a magic ability, I'm going to take him and keep him, and I can use it at any point during my turn. So the very last dice I have is this one, which I'm going to reroll, and I get a 3, which I believe is enough to put on the Cave Giant. When I put on the Cave Giant, while I have killed him, I still take that 1 damage, so I'm down to 15. So all these dice now get removed. They are in the spent area, and this, because he has a special magic ability, I get to keep it with me. And that's it. All the dice have been spent. Now, if I had a magic card to recover spent dice, I could spend that, or if I had an ability and recover it, I could do that, and then I could re-roll and potentially take out this Rat Swarm, but I can't. So at this stage right now, the round is over. So I can choose to keep this die on the Rat Swarm if I want to, or I can take it back and re-roll it. I'm going to keep it on him because 4 is a pretty, I can only assign up to 4, so hitting the max on this one is pretty good. And now we would reveal 3 more creatures. So 1, 2, and 3. So each one of these has a special ability. The Banshee has a health of 13. Sorry, I forgot to do something. The Rat Swarm actually does damage to me. I forgot to do the creature round. So the creature round goes right after I'm done with all the dice. Any creatures available left, they would attack me. And damage would be dealt around the table. Because I'm solo, I'm taking every damage. But let's say the Rat Swarm had 4 damage, and there were 4 players. Each damage going around would be distributed around the table. So I would take 1, player 2 would take 1, player 3 would take 1, and player 4 would take 1. If there's only 3 players, and the rat swarm was doing 4 damage, I would take 2 damage because I take 1, player 2 takes 1, player 3 takes 1, and that last damage comes back to me or whoever's the leader. So I've got the Banshee, health of 13. You cannot return any spent dice until this creature is slain. The Shade, which is a health of 11, you take 1 damage when you place a die on this creature. And the Ogre. I hate the Ogre. He's 30 health. You cannot target any other creature until this creature is slain. Now, when certain combinations of creatures, when they come out, can really ruin your life. If you have the kind of creature that doesn't allow you to bring back spent dice, or re-roll, or unable to target other ones until they're dead. That's it. I feel like that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna start. So I'm gonna re-roll, or sorry, I'm gonna do my initial roll. I get 9, a 5. Obviously, I have to go after the Ogre, and because the Ogre is 30, it could take a while, and this is where it becomes challenging. And a 1. Okay, so I'm allowed to re-roll because none of these cards say I can't re-roll. I just can't return any spent dice, which is her ability. The thief's ability is to bring back spent dice. So I'm going to take this one. I'm going to hopefully roll high. I get a 2. Okay, so that's fine. I get a 2. I'm going to use her ability, which is to change this die and take any the last discarded magic item, which is none. I'm going to change this to a 20, and I'm going to assign it to the Ogre. So that's nice. That actually went in my favor. So now I'm going to take the D12 and I'm going to roll. I get a 2, another 2, which I can use. You can use your crit ability as many times as you roll that crit number. So that's one of the nice benefits. I'm going to change this to a 12. So now I have 32. The moment I've done that, the Ogre is dead. These go into my spent area, and this goes off into discard. And now I'm going to go after that Banshee because I really want to pull that 1 dice back from there. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this D10, and it's already on the 10, so I'm going to assign it to this Banshee. Oops. So I only need 3 left, which I have over here. I will assign this here. So the Banshee is dead. This goes into my spent. Okay, I'm going to use my special ability, which is discard a die to use any other die in the spent area. You must roll the spent die and may not re-roll it. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to discard this D4. I'm going to take back the D20 to re-roll, and I get a 15. I'm okay with that. The 15 I'm going to assign to Shade, and Shade, because it's 11, I can assign higher than its health value unless it states otherwise, which is usually by exact, the keyword exact. This goes into my spent die. And now I'm kind of stuck here. I'm kind of stuck where I can't place a die here, but I'm going to use my special ability here. Or my special magic item. Place this card on a creature to deal 5 damage to it. You discard this card when the creature is slain. Now, this is not a die. For Rat Swarm, it says no die of 5 or higher can be placed on this creature. I'm not assigning a die. I'm placing a magic item, which gives me a total of 9, which kills off the Rat Swarm. So that's done. I have 1 dice left, which right now doesn't do me any good, so this will go into my spent. The round is over. If there are any creatures left on the board, they would attack the players at the table, starting with the leader and going clockwise, providing 1 damage to each player until all the damage has been assigned. Then we move into the, I guess, discover or reveal. I'm going to reveal the cards. So you'll notice that this is Hag. Hag has reveal, which is draw an additional card. So I'm going to draw an additional card, which does not count as my second. Okay, this one is the Goblin Shaman, which you cannot use critical hits until this creature is slain. So this would be my second, and then my third. Now, if I drew another card here that said draw an additional card, I would draw an additional card, and I could have 5. So far, this is playing out well for me. Normally, if you're unable to at least mitigate out of the 3 that usually start, 2 of them, it can get overwhelming. Because once you start to have, I'd say, more than 5 creatures on the board, it's next to impossible to defeat all 3 of them unless you have some crazy ability or crazy magic items to help you retrieve dice back. So that's where it becomes really challenging. So this one doesn't really have anything special. The Troll has 21 health, and you can only assign dice values of 1 to 9. So I'm going to go ahead and take the pool. I'm going to roll. I get a 9, an 11, a 4, a 5, another 5. I could really use my special. A 9, and a 3. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the d20 to roll. I get an 8, and I can't use critical hits until this creature is slain, so I'm going to try to go after the Goblin Shaman first. So that's 8. Then I'm going to take this one to assign it, which is 4. That gives me 12. So the Shaman is slain. I get to keep his ability. And now I have an 11, which is perfect for the Hag. I'm going to destroy the Hag, and I'm going to spend and discard this to heal 1 damage. Might as well use it while I have it. And I'm going to use my special ability. I'm going to discard my d4 to bring back my d20 to roll once. I get a 16, which goes on the Goblin Champion, which eliminates Goblin Champion. And now I have the Troll. So I have a value of 9. I'm going to assign the 9. I'm going to try to roll a higher value, which is 3. I assign a 3. That's 12. And I get another 5. So that's 17 out of the 21. And I don't have enough. But what I can do, I can discard this card to add 1. Would that be enough? 6, 15, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to discard this to add +1 or -1 to your chosen die. So I'll up 1 this to 4. So now I have 18. And then I'm going to discard my Wand of Blasting to place this card on the creature to deal 3 damage. Discard this card when the creature is slain. So I put 3, but that's 21. And that's it. So all these rules are fair because they're all under the value of 9. This one is not a dice, so I can actually do it. So that's 21 damage. So I now collect that as part of my magic items. Surprisingly, I'm doing well. Surprisingly. Okay, so now we reveal another 3. If there are any creatures on the board before, they would do damage. And then 3 more. You cannot reroll until this creature is slain. Discard the die with the highest number when rolled at the beginning of the round. If it's a tie, the first player chooses. Okay, so I have to discard the highest number die. Watch me roll a d20. There you go. So 14 is the highest, so I have to discard that. So I have a 9. I cannot re-roll because of the Basilisk. 3 and 8 and a 2, which is my special, which is nice. Okay, so let's try to go with... oh, I don't know. I cannot re-roll, but I can take that back. I'm going to use my Thief special ability. I discard this d4 to pull back the d20 and roll it, and I get a 19. Nice, 19. I will assign the 19 to the Basilisk to defeat it. I take that magic ability that goes into the thing, and if I wanted to, I could pull that one back again, which I think I will. I think I'll get rid of the 2. I'm going to discard a die to pull a spent die back, and I get an 11, which I will use on the Goblin. The Goblin gets killed, and then, so you can see the Thief is very, very good. I would say some of the characters, some are significantly more powerful than others. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and discard the d8 to pull back that d20, and I get a 5. Yay, a 5. Well, that's not going to be any fun to me. So let me use this one to, well, I have to sign it. So I assign a 5. I'm going to take this one, use my crit, and I'm going to change this, I believe is a d10, so that's 15, and I get to pull a magic card, the last discarded magic card, which would be this one. Back into here, and I'm going to roll the d12. I get a 2, which I'm going to use my special crit. I can change this to a 12, which should be enough at that point. That's 17, 27. That's enough to take this one out. And I take back the last magic item. Actually, this one's not discarded. The last magic item was this one, so I take that one back. And there you go. Then you get another 3 out that come out. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so in this case, I did include at least 1 advanced card, so I get to draw an additional card. So this one would be the 3rd one, and then 1 additional card would be right here. After rolling the available die at the beginning of the round, place 2 of them in the spent die area, or the first player takes 2 damage. Then discard this card. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a roll. We take 1 damage when placing a die on this creature. When we place a die on this creature, we discard an available die. And then until this creature is slain, discard the highest set of matching numbers rolled at the beginning of the round. I'm assuming if they're not matching, I don't have to discard them. Do I have anything matching? I do. The highest matching is the 2 8s. So I discard those. And then I have to, sorry, this is a 9 and a 4. And because of this card, I have to discard or take 2 damage. I will, you know what, I'm going to take 2 damage. And then I need to discard this card. So here's what I'm working with. And I actually rolled a 20. So I'm going to use this 20 to get Bugbear out. Okay. The Doppelganger requires 18 exact, so that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. And the rest of these are no good. So I'm going to use my special ability. I'm going to discard this to pull back the d20. And I rolled a 16. I'll put the 16 on the Doppelganger. And I need a 2. That means I need a 2, right? Oh, actually, you know what? While I place that one, sorry, I'm going to discard this. Discard when placing a die to increase all other, oh no, all other die. I can't use that one, sorry. My fault. I can't read. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this instead. Now, as far as I understand, it's 18 damage, not necessarily dice. So I'm going to spend this one, discard this to add or minus 1 to any die. So I'm going to subtract this to 15. Where is that 15? Where are you, 15? There you go, 15. And then I'm going to discard this to add 3 damage onto this, which is exactly 18. So he is killed. All right. Did I discard this one? Yeah, I discard this one. Okay, so now I have these ones left. I'm going to roll this d12. I get a 7. I will place that 7 on here. I take 1 damage for doing so. I'm going to roll my d8. I get a 1, which is terrible. That's fine. I'll spend this one here to do this. I'm going to discard this to pull back my d20, and I get a 14. I'll put it on here. That gets me down to 10 health, but I slay the giant cobra, and then that's it. So in this situation, I've completed spending all the dice, and I'm going to take 1 damage because it's the creature round. So I take 1 damage, and now 3 appear. 1, 2, and 3. The skeleton takes exactly 8. Only evens for the stone golem. The warg rider, I can do 16 damage to, and he's not gone, and I still have the gargoyle to take care of. So I'm going to roll. I get a 12, a 9, sorry, a 6, a 12, a 3, a 4, a 6, and a 10. So part of the strategy here, well, no strategy, roll the right dice. That's your strategy. Is to use your character's abilities, whatever magic items you have in conjunction. There's timing, knowing when to use them, and as well as how you want to distribute it. So I think I'll start with the stone golem. I need 8 exact for that guy, right? So if I do 12, because only even, so 12 on here, and then the next player would go, if there was another player, probably take the 12, assign it to the stone golem because it's even. So this goes into the spent area. And I'm going to discard this, use my special ability. I'm going to discard this die to roll to take back the d20, re-roll it. I get 19, which I will use on the War Rider. And it's going to go. And then I'm going to, I need 8 exact, huh? So I'll put this one here. I will re-roll this one. I get a 6. Oh, that's no good. So I place it here. When placing the die on this creature, discard an available die to the spent area. So I'm going to discard this one, but I'm also going to discard this one to retrieve this one back. And I get a 15, which I'm putting on him. There's no available dice left, so I can't really use his ability. He's gone. That's it. So all that's left is a skeleton who does me 2 damage. I'm going to keep this damage on him, and I'm pulling out 3 more, which reveal 1 hero must take 1 damage. I'm taking 6. Draw an additional card. It doesn't matter because we're on the last card. So you can not attack Culture Storm until the rest of them are gone, I believe. Yeah, you can only attack Culture Storm if it is the last remaining creature. You take 1 damage when placing a die on this creature. You cannot use any critical hits when attacking this creature. So a lot of rules and hindrances. So I'm going to go ahead and start rolling my round. I get a 12. I get an 8, a 6, a 4, a 1, and a 10. And let's see what I want to do. So the skeleton, I could use a 2, but that's not going to help me. I'll take the 12. I'm going to put it on the Were-Rat. And then I'm going to take the... I'm going to try to roll this one. I get a 1, which I assigned to here. And I'll take the 4, put it on the Were-Rat to kill it off. These go in the spent area. I'm gonna go ahead and oh boy, let's see. Let's re-roll this D8. Let's see what we get. I get a 6. I will put it here. No, it has to be 8 exact. Darn. We'll place this one here. That's 7. I'll roll this D8. I get a 4. That's 11. And sorry, 11. Oh, it has to be odd. What am I doing? Has to be odd. Sorry. So, no, sorry. That 6 then can only be going to no one. Oh man. So that's an example of where I'm stuck. So I can't assign it to the giant spider because it only takes odd. I can't assign it to here because it needs 8 exact. I can't re-roll it. So that means I can't use it, which means it gets discarded. Okay, I'm going to discard this card to re-roll all my available dice. Okay, I get a 5, I get a 1, and I get the 10 back. So I'm going to try to re-roll this one. I get a 2, which is perfect. I'll use this one on here, which kills it exactly. I'm going to use my ability, which is I'm going to discard this one to pull back the D10 or D20. I get an 8. I need an odd only. So that sucks. That basically means I cannot use this one, but I'm going to discard this card to re-roll this die. I get a 2, which is fine. I'm going to use my crit, which I get to change this to any number, and I'm going to change it to 17, which goes here, which destroys the giant spider, which is that. And now I'm going to... Oh boy, let me see. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to discard this card, the Amulet of Antiquity, discard to return a spent dice to the available dice area, which is right here. So I'm going to re-roll this one. I get a 3. Not good. Can I re-roll? Nope, I can't. Okay, so I'm going to put this 3 right here. I take 1 damage. I'm going to roll this one. I get 5 again, which I will place here to take another damage. Okay, so now all the available dice has been spent. It's now the creature's turn. I'm going to take 1 damage, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to discard this card to take no damage with placing a die on the creature. No, wrong one. I'm going to discard... No, I can't do it. So I'm taking 1 damage. So I'm down to 3. Yay. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to take these back so I can re-roll them. And that is a choice that I do have. Oh, this is better. So I have 18. I have an 11. I have a 5. I have a 2. I have a 4. Another 5 and a 4. Okay, so I'm going to assign this 18 to Culture Storm. And I take damage because I do that, but I'm going to discard this one so I don't take damage. So I'm still at 3. I'm going to take this one, use my special ability. I'm going to change it so that is a 10. And when I place it on Culture Storm, I take 1 damage. Now he's at 28. Oh, this is the one I should discard. Oh well, that's okay. And I'm gonna roll this. No, actually, you know what? I'm gonna keep this at 11. Okay, I'm gonna put this 11 on here to take one more damage. So that's a 21, 39. I'm at 39, which means I need 11. I need 11, and I do not have enough. But I could do this one. So I'm gonna try to roll this one. I get a 3. Not good enough. Let's see. I have to, and you have to assign the dice that you've chosen. So I can't just say, oh, I rerolled the 3. Oh, I want to go back and take the 5. You can't do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I have to assign this value of 3. When I assign it, unfortunately, I'm going to place this one. I can increase all other dice by 2, which gives a 20. This is at max. This would be at max. And this one be on. So 15, 25, 45. And I would take that last damage, so I would be dead. And I didn't take out Culture Storm. But I was 5 hit points away from doing it. So there you go. That, unfortunately, it was close. It was close. But as you can see, managing the number of creatures that come out is important. If you play this solo, I honestly think keeping it to no more than 3 or 4 creatures available at the on the board during spawn, except for the ones that ask you to draw an additional card, is probably the better way to go, because I feel that keeps it balanced. The only advantage you're getting when you have more than one player is you're benefiting from other people's crits as well as their abilities. And if you tie in, so for example, if I had the rogue and the thief together, I can really, I'm pulling back spent dice. And that's the most important part, is being able to bring back spent dice, because you only have 7 to work with, and 2 of them are very low. So they don't provide enough hit values. So that's where you could probably go with the normal rules of every creature spawn phase that a creature comes out. But if you're just doing solo, I suggest just keep it at 3 or 4 max, unless there's a special card that allows the creatures to draw an additional card, and that's the only time. So if I had 4 cards on there, and let's say I was unable to mitigate them, and I take whatever damage, during the reveal stage for the creatures, no more would get revealed. I wouldn't add another 3, because that would have 7. So I would just keep the 4 on the board. That helps give a little bit more breathing life into the round that you're going through, and that would help, I think, balance it out. I think a lot of people said that solo on this one is extremely hard, and I agree. So there you go. That's Dice Conquest by WizKids, a very light dungeon crawl. It's not necessarily easy. You do have some interesting choices to make. How to allocate your dice, what's the best way to maximize the value, what's the best way to maximize your character's ability, as well as trying to go for that crit. Having those magic items that you have whenever you defeat a creature provides some added benefit in terms of timing of when you want to use them. And at the end of the day, they're door cards. This is kind of like those Steve Jackson Munchkin games. You're kicking down the door, you're taking a look, and 3 creatures appear. You take care of them. You kick down the door again. Another 3 appear, and you keep on going. While you're limited with the number of dice that you have, you only have 7 to assign. But your abilities to allow you to pull back spent dice, to re-roll, or to increase the damage and use those magic items can help mitigate those creatures that come out. The creatures are challenging in that there's most of them have very specific conditions that have to be met in order for you to defeat them, or they provide some kind of hindrance or roadblock for you to be able to use your abilities, or pull back a spent dice, or re-roll a dice. So if you're a bad roller like me, you can end up really screwed, and you won't have a chance against these creatures. I think it's lightweight in that sense. It's not a lot of difficult decision making. It's more about optimizing your dice pool, and as well as a lot of luck when you're rolling them. But it's easy to carry around. It's a very small format. It's not difficult to explain. I mean, you can drop this on the table, and then within 30 seconds, you can explain to your friends how this works. Roll a dice, assign it, and kill the creature. So I hope you enjoyed this playthrough of Dice Conquest, and thanks for joining me again. And until next time, stay bored.